Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Duneske, where it's like 2 days later, and I've done a bit of work. You can see I've got some more of the road in. We're working on the final stretch today, where we're gonna have to try and link this section of road up to this section of road, and I have a sneaking suspicion they're on two different, completely different levels. Ooh, oh dear. Those clip distances aren't set right. That is decidedly not good. It looks like I'm going to have to go through this entire round and double check clip distances, which is not exactly fun. As you can see, I've only just opened up Giants Editor and done a small bit of tinkering so far today. Oh, that is actually the way the field was. I thought the train was modified there. So the plan for today is we're going to spend about half an hour trying to get these two linked up. And I don't know how else this is going to go. So let's start off by 47.03, and that's 47.6. I have a sneaking suspicion that the ground is not entirely level, and I'm gonna have to put in a small slope, I think. Either that or just reduce this slope slightly. That's what, 10? That's gonna be fun to try and figure out. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna start off pretty. I'm gonna start off with a curve. And we're just going to direct it off to the left here. So as you can see, you can't see because my face is in the way. Keep forgetting that. So the nav speed here is set to 1. So I am moving slowly. Let's go for 20 degrees to the left. We'll copy that and we'll paste it in up here into laneways. There we go. And we'll just control Shift copy and Control Shift paste, and then Control Shift copy and Control Shift paste. So that is the curve, just over from where I actually want it to be, but it's all in line, so I just need to move it along the X modifier here. And double check that it's in the right position now. This is the fun part. Is that good? That is good. So now we're just going to modify the terrain around it. And for any of you out there that are planning on making a map, this is something that, if you're planning on making roads the same way I'm doing them, you'll be doing quite a lot of. Because most of making roads is modifying the terrain. Okay, so let's just get this down here. I am going to have to put in a small bit of a slope. I'm hoping what I can do is actually get this around to the right by about 10 degrees, looks to 5 or 10 degrees. And what I can do from there is actually get... Well, I'm going to decide on what I want to do once I get there, because this is not going to line up right, and I'm going to have to come up with some sort of solution to fix that. The two simplest solutions would be to reduce that slope slightly by modifying the scale of the piece, which is possibly what I'm going to do. And the other solution would be to get rid of that slope entirely and try and make a new slope that lines up correctly. Now it will be a bit of tinkering because I'll have to work with still have to do the same basic thing where I just modify the scale of the slope, but I'll be doing it from this side of it, so it will be kind of working from this side down instead of that side up. Which is why I'm currently working from both sides, I guess. So let's just smooth this area out a bit and check on the conditions down here. That side's good. This side could do with a bit of smoothing because it is still a bit high. So if I smooth around here, it won't actually affect the road too much. It's going to affect the terrain around the road, which is what I want. And there we go, that's it, perfect. So here's where the issues come in, is I've got to try and figure out what angle I need to go from there to there. And kind of looks like it might be 15 degrees. Is there a 15 degree curve? No, so let's go 10 to the right first. So let's copy that in and paste it in. And just Control B it in. Control Shift copy. Control Shift paste. Control Shift copy. And whoops. And there we go. Control Shift paste. Now what I want to do is I want to try and figure out which way this needs to go. So it's 57.84. I'll make a mental note of that. So it needs to go minus 20 minus 20 degrees, which means that it's 37.84, and it looks wonky there. But when I move it up to here-ish and just slide it into position like that, there's a very rough slide into position, but it will do for now. I'll just fix it up. Do a nudge over to the left. Now it hooks in perfectly. And I've conveniently covered up a Facebook message that I just got. That worked perfectly. I knew there was a reason I put my webcam down here. By the way, if you do try and add me on Facebook, good luck, because I won't actually... If I don't know you, I won't add you on Facebook. Because that's just... I use my Facebook for chatting to friends, is basically all I do on it. That was a friend of mine from the UK telling me that he's just after reaching his friend's house and he won't be talking for a while. Because I just told him I'm recording, so I won't be talking for a while. Let's go for a bit of a quick channel update while I'm doing this, seeing as it is hopefully Sunday when you're seeing this. First things first, you should have noticed in the Mulroy finale special thing that I really need to put the description on, because today is the 30th, and that is going up. Trying to decide on a time to put that up, but it will be up. It will have been up on New Year's Day, and this shows how well I plan things. I recorded that 2 days ago, and I still don't have. I've it uploaded and edited and all that kind of stuff. I just don't have it scheduled in, or any descriptions put on it, or anything like that. But you'll have noticed that I've finally, for that video, managed to fix the weird contrast and saturation issues I've been having. And the cause of the problem was Sony Vegas for some reason. So I've kind of abandoned that and gonna come clean here. It was not a legit version of Vegas. I pirated it because I don't want to pay like $300 for something that I don't use completely. So what I did was, for that video and yesterday's video, I used HitFilm. And what I did last night, for me, was I actually bought a Sony Movie Studio, on Steam. So if you've got me on Steam, and I know a few of you guys do, you'll potentially be able to see when I'm editing videos or just messing about and fiddling with Video Studio, which is just a bit of a boiled down version of Vegas, really. But I have done some testing, and it does seem to behave in terms of colours, so that's more or less what I want. I can keep all my presets the way they are at the moment. Because conveniently they went straight into Movie Studio, which was really quite nice. And more importantly, it didn't screw with contrast in the videos that I threw into it. Which, yeah, still kind of clueless as to why Vegas did it. Might be some DRM at play there, but... Okay, so that's that in. How does the terrain around it look? This area here could do with being a bit flatter, I think. Now I'm trying to keep the hills as much as I can, but I don't want it being, you know, huge, massive bumps everywhere. Okay, so that does in fact look like I've got it more or less lined up. There might be a 5-degree difference. Let's duplicate this and just place it down here and line it up with the... Okay, so 147.699, copy and paste. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to line it up with this very quickly and then just scoot it up so that I can see if there's any discrepancy in the okay, if there's any major discrepancy in the, yeah, it's about a 5 or 10 degree discrepancy there, so I will have to work with that. Yeah, I'm kind of gonna have a quick sip of Coke Zero. Just because I couldn't be bothered with water today. You can kind of see the top of my water bottle right here. See? Water. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually scale this down by the z-axis to 0.87, which should in theory line it up more or less correctly. And I'm going to put in a 5-degree curve to the right. So let's copy that in to laneways, and that is going to be one hell of a scene graph to deal with. When this is released, I will just allow people to edit it. I'll put kind of the general disclaimer on it that if you do edit it, come to me and ask my permission, because I want to have a look at what you guys do to the map. And that's more out of curiosity than anything else. 37.84, which means that is going to be 47.84. And seriously, that is the easiest way of lining things up. Is just, if you can get the y-axis and the y rotation correct, it actually seems to make things a lot easier to work with. Now, if you've got an x rotation, which is what slopes tend to have, that can cause some issues. And by some, I mean phantom Z rotations in curves, which I have managed to do already. Did manage that before. It looks like it's still wrong. Just gonna smooth this out a bit more, just in that area. Because I just want the areas around the roads to have a bit of margin for error for the player. Because, number one, I know that I'm not the best driver, and I use a wheel. So, I'm presuming there are going to be people who drive worse than me, and that's not saying I'm brilliant. I'm going to presume there are people worse than me who are using keyboard and mouse, and just struggle in general on tight maps. So I'm going to make this map... Here's the plan. This is going to be a tight map. it's not going to be an easy map. It's going to be a tight map with obviously plenty of fields. And if you haven't seen the overhead view, I will bring you to it in a moment. Yeah, the plan is to have a difficult map, but not one that's actually impossible for mouse and keyboard. I know Brayborn Lees does have some issues with mouse and keyboard users, and I want to try and avoid that. Also, I am using, for this again, I'm using OBS obviously to record because I don't have any other screen capture software. I do, it's Fraps, but that would just capture the main window here, and I want to show off the entire process, so just having the quote-unquote game window open would not be something that I want to do. Now, I did get a comment on one of my Nuston videos asking how to install the compost soil mod. The short answer is I followed the instructions. The long answer is I will show you in an upcoming video in this series, so just bear with me. I will be putting in the scripts on camera because the only one I haven't installed on camera is the chopped straw, which is just relatively easy. I'll be putting in, or attempting to put in, some multi-fruit capabilities. I have plans in my head for what crops I want on the map, and hopefully, yeah, that's still off by about 5 degrees. So if I swap that to a 10 degree, what happens? And it's going to the left, so let's copy that into there. Okay, so it's 10 to the right. I'll need, so let's copy that into there, and again Control Shift copy, Control Shift paste. This is helpful if you're just straight swapping something. Really helpful if you're just straight swapping something, in fact. So even the 10 degree doesn't quite look right. I'm wondering if I swap this 10 degree here for 20 degree, what will happen? So it's a 20 left I'll need, so let's copy that, paste it in. It's 20, yeah, it's 20 right I'll need, not 20 left. So 20 right, let's copy and paste, and Control Shift copy, Control Shift paste, Control Shift copy, and Control Shift paste. So that brings it to so it is 20 degrees I'll need. It's just a case of it's a bit too far over. So if I nudge this down, it'll scoot the... If I nudge this down to about there-ish, that lines it up more or less correctly, so I can actually get rid of this and this and this. And the 20 meter... What? Lane 20 meters, where's that? Oh, it's there. If I put in a... I'm going to go with a 5 meter lane. And this is trial and error now, I'm just kind of working this out as I go. And take the measurements from this, because they'll match up nicely. Control Shift paste. Control Shift copy. Control Shift paste. And now if I change this to negative 37.84, it goes wonky. But if I get rid of the two 180s, it does something quite amazing and completely reverses direction. And that's really useful, because what I've done is I've just completely flipped it on all three axes. And now what I want to do is get another... I'm going to have to use 1 meter sections by the looks of it. So let's copy and paste, and what we'll do here is just copy and paste, and we only need this one measurement, copy and paste, because with those two measurements now in place we can just move it along the X and Y modifiers, X and Z modifiers even. So it's as simple as that. And we just duplicate it, bring it down, and oh, we're gonna have an overlap. Can I move that down another meter? Yes. So what I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna duplicate that and just bring it to, well, bring it to there. And what I'm gonna do very cheekily is move everything out so that it doesn't overlap all that much. You can see there these two pieces do overlap slightly, I believe. Yeah, there's a minor overlap. So I think I can deal with that. So these two, that's a bit of a big overlap, I think. And this one can move out to there-ish. Back a tiny bit to there. This is the 5 meter section now, so this is going to cause some issues. Go out to, no, tiny nudge back there. And now the curve itself, what? Was almost in the correct place anyway. Something seems wonky there. Okay, 1115, 20 left, 20 right. Where's this mysterious 20 left after coming out of? Oh, it's that one. So that's actually more or less lines up perfectly with the looks of it. There's still 5 meter discrepancy, or 5 degree discrepancy, which can be dealt with rather easily by doing the usual tricks of just changing scales and whatnot, and it's not particularly a big deal. Just throw in a 5 meter piece and or a 5 degree turn. Keep mixing up degrees and meters, because just throw in a 5 degree turn and try and pull the so the hardest bit is going to be pulling that slope back a bit, because that's going to mean I'm going to have to do some pretty serious modifications to the terrain, which I would rather not have to do. Let's see if I can slip a 5 degree curve to the right. 15.5 right, copy and paste and B. I'm just going to do this manually. Okay, so the level is going to be 47.699. That we can paste in. And the rest of it is going to have to be manual manipulation. Because no, 37.84, and then turning to this direction is 57.84. A bit of mental arithmetic never goes too wrong. And now it's just a case of nudging that back a tiny bit. Okay, so that's the road done in terms of direction. Because now you can see these two line up perfectly. The issue I have now is that the height is off. And the only way to fix that is to rescale this little hill, which is going to be a reasonably major terrain modification, I believe, depending on how far back I need it to go. Now, having to do a terrain modification like that is perfectly fine for me, because, do you know what? I don't mind having to, get rid of or shrink a small hill. In fact, let me think. 47.699, 40. Ooh. Let's actually get rid of these two slopes altogether. I'm going to replace them with 5-degree slopes, but only once I can find the end of this piece. Oh, it's there. Okay. So knowing that I am perfectly lined up, and that all I need to do is shrink the little slope that I had there and the little hill I had going, replacing the 10-degree slopes of 5-degree slopes will actually just naturally reduce the slope. Now, one of them, or both of them, are going to have to be shrunk down in size a small bit. So that's going to be a small bit of work and a bit of scaling work and whatnot. But it's not overly difficult. So let's get working on that now. We got almost half an hour in. I'm going to continue until I got this slope in. So it's going to be a 30-meter slope, and we're going to start off with a -5, yes. So let's paste it in and do that. And we're going to take these measurements here, copy, and where's the piece gone? It's gone over here, hasn't it? Do that. And now 57.884. I'm going to bring up my calculator. And ooh, that seems to have wonked things a bit. What's going on? I don't... What's happening? Is my computer throwing a fit because I've moved calculator in here? Yes, it is. So I'm just gonna bring calculator away again. Okay, so 57.84 minus... I didn't want plus. Something is going really weird. Minus 15 is 42.84, so that's the measurement we're gonna want, is it? Let's, whoops. Oh, okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move this down to the end of the slope here, or the end of the curve. And now we'll figure out what we want. So apparently we need 42. No, it's going the wrong direction. Okay. So 50. Ooh. 57 point. I don't know why calculator is acting up, but it is. 84 plus. Oh, it's 5. 62.84. So 62.84. Yes, I went in the wrong direction the first time. And everything else should mesh up nicely. It's just a case of getting these lined up. And that's not too difficult, because I've done it a couple of 100 times already. There we go. So there you can see the slope as it is right now. And what we're going to do is we're going to take about 0.1 off the Z scale. Because 0.2 off seemed to... We're going to kind of experiment around with the Z scale, because that just shrinks the overall length of it, without making too much of a hassle. And if we need to, we can increase the, I believe it's the Y scale that I can blow up a bit. You'll notice, by the way, that I got the water plane selected. I can't see because OBS is covered by calculator, which is acting up. Let's minimize that. There we go. You can see that I got the water plane selected, and it is scaled to 0.3, 0.3, 0.3. That's because I only really wanted to cover that bottom corner of the map, or the bottom half, and well, that's because that's where the river is, or the stream, or whatever you want to describe it as. I still don't have bridges. I don't. The only thing that I've actually imported into the map right now is chopped straw, because I wanted to double check if that worked properly. And what else did I import in? Well, the roads, obviously. And this is the second set of roads that I imported in. The first one just wasn't good enough for my liking. These are the same roads used on Nuston, and most of the higher quality maps have this road kit in, just because it is reasonable detail and saves a bit on memory as well. It's low poly but high detail. It's just the textures are detailed enough. Well, detailed textures. High-res textures, low-res model. Doesn't need to be, 17 million polys, because it's a road. And it's just something that you drive on and don't really take much notice of, but... Oh, the cat won't leave again. Don't know if you can hear that in the background, but the cat is refusing to leave. So my mother is taken to shouting at it, because that actually gets the cat to leave. We're not cruel to the cat, don't worry. We just get a bit vocal at times. Okay, so that's the -5 degree slope in. Lovely. Next thing to go in is going to be a 5 degree slope. So copy that in to there. I'm going to have to do this all manually because unfortunately, well no, that is the only thing we can do somewhat automatically. Okay. So if I can get this lined up right and it behaves, we might just be able to get lucky here. Okay. So let's just see how much luck I have today. How is that looking down at the bottom? This is the important question. Let's try 175. Has that caused an issue at all? It has lowered it, just not enough. That's kind of what I feared. Okay, so let's scale back the Z on this one alone and scale up the Y. Scale down the Y. So I'm making it into a flatter and shallower curve. Just so that it'll... Now, why on earth has that happened? Now, you'll notice I'm going to cause some problems for myself here. Okay, so apparently got to move... I gotta move this back to there. Ish. I'm gonna scale back the Z again ever so slightly. Because I want these two to mesh up nicely, and they don't seem to be wanting to do that quite at the moment. Okay, so that's That's the meshing point by the looks of it. Maybe. I'm not entirely sure what's going on here. Have I stretched the... Oh. So I've actually got to reduce or increase the Y again. Nope, I got to reduce it more. Okay, so that's extremely flat. That is extremely flat, good lord. And you see now the issue is that this road lines up perfectly, but now this one is a few centimeters short, so I'm going to have to try and... It's less than a meter short, so I'm going to have to try and get all of these lined up perfectly. Or I can just... Yeah, I'm just going to cheat a bit. Copy. Paste. Okay, Control-Shift copy. Control-Shift paste. This is me cheesing it a bit, but... Ah. Yeah, that shouldn't cause much of an issue. And Control-Shift paste. And I'll just rotate this around through 180 degrees myself. Okay, so it does look like there's a Z rotation after coming into it, nuts. So it's 175 and minus... Okay, so 175. I'll just take this measurement. I'll throw a negative in front of it. And 180. And that, in theory, should... Why is that after happening? Huh. Well, that's an odd one. Let's just try... Okay, so what I'm going to have to do is actually set a custom slope to this, which is not entirely ideal, but... Okay, wait. Let's get rid of this entirely. Did I knack up when I was doing this? Perhaps. Would appear I did. So now what I'm going to do, what I'm going to have to do, is go around through all of this and just... In fact, no, I don't... Let's nudge this back a tiny bit, and yeah, this is where I'm gonna have to. This is where I'm gonna insert the 1 meter piece. So I'm gonna duplicate this, so it comes down there. Control-Shift copy and find the 1 meter section that I just inserted, and Control-Shift paste, and it's going to be 180. Minus 27.12 and 180, and it more or less fits in. If I just actually just flip it around to 27.12, just nudge it forward like that. A little nudge to the side like that, and that's the best I can do because reasons. Okay, so back down to here, and it looks like I'll have to make a minor modification to this road as well, but first things first, let's get this sorted. So this is easily fixed down here. It's just a case of nudge the terrain around until it wants to behave again. There we go, more or less. Now this bit here is going to be fun because I've got to try and get the terrain right up to the edge so that it's not blooming obvious that I've gone and broken half of everything. But because it's at such a shallow angle, the terrain doesn't want to play ball. Because of course it doesn't. Okay, let's just smooth this all out and see what we're working with. Okay, so let's just maybe usual flickies. Okay. Let's see how bad that looks. Oh, that is really quite atrocious. However, with a bit of smoothing, it doesn't look too bad. And then I just need to get the terrain up as close as I possibly can to this edge. Really is the plan. So again, because when I do this, it does introduce quite a lot of weird and wonderful hills. But if I can get it right up to the edge, it isn't an issue. Much like that. There we go. And this is map making in a nutshell. It's just you put in so much work and then you have to, you make one mistake and you gotta go back and put in an extra hour just to fix the one mistake you made. Which is fine, I don't mind that. It's just it's why people say that that's why maps take so long to make, is because one little mistake, like what I made, I didn't even know I made it until I found out, which is, well, it's normally how mistakes happen, isn't it? You don't know you've made a mistake until you find out you've made a mistake. But no, I didn't even know I made a mistake until I got to the end of the roadway, which, as it turned out, was misaligned. Now what I could have done was shorten another piece a bit further back and put in an extra bit of a slope there to try and get it to mesh properly. I could have put in 10-degree slopes and fiddled with their alignment a bit, yes. That would have been another option. And it's still a bit too high, isn't it? That's a tad too low. 393, 392, 4, 5, 3925. And doesn't make much of a difference to what I've already done over there. That's perfect. And for some reason my mouse has decided to make that. I'm wondering if Windows might be updating at the moment, and if it is, that is a bit of a disaster. Apparently it's not, which is... that pleases me. At least one thing's going right for me today. So I'm going to leave it here because I got the loop essentially done. I need to find an American map for tomorrow's video, so that's what my next project will be, because I don't have that recorded yet at all, which is fun. While I'm looking, I will be working on rendering this video, so hurrah. And hopefully you get to see it as I actually intended to be seen, as opposed to as some weird washed out funky psychedelic nightmare like some of my other videos have been. Seriously, if I could have fixed those problems instantly, I would have. It seemed like the issue was just Sony Vegas doing some weird stuff to the videos, and it was largely irreparable. Sorry. Because I put the Christmas special, as you probably have seen by now. If you haven't, you should possibly go watch it, because that was a fun sped up video, I must admit. Fun to speed up, not so fun to do. That took like the better part of 8 hours. That video took to record. Just to record it. And yeah. Dang it, what's going on here? There's a small bit under there that's just acting up and not behaving nicely, isn't there? Okay, so it looks like I do need to go under here. And whoops. Just smooth this out. Little taps, please, mouse. Little taps. Well, that count. No, it doesn't. How bad have I made things down here then? No, I've smoothed the ground. I've actually managed to smooth it manually. Wonderful. So that's probably the best I can do there. That's definitely the best I can do there. See, now it's all down to, whoops, what I can and can't edit underneath this, which is making life a bit more difficult, because obviously some parts I need to try and bump up the surrounds, some parts I need to try and bump it down, and editing one side can make a big difference on the other, which I'm kind of proving here by making an absolute shambles out of this section. That's probably the best I can do. Just get all that up like that. There's an example of where trying to fix one side breaks the other. Okay, let's do a bit of a smooth there. Okay. Oh, there. Oh, no, not there. I need a small bit of a boost there. Let's just do this smoothing there. This needs a bit of a boost. If we smooth it out, it should look nice enough. And here's why I hate editing terrain in Giants Editor. Especially when I'm trying to do it in a bit of a minute scale. Now I know I could fiddle with the brush settings, but again, that would cause problems later on when I'm trying to be a bit more blunt with the brush. So I prefer to keep things at about this level. It's a nice mix between blunt and subtle. Now what I will have to do, and I know I'm going to have to do it, and I'm going to do it off camera a bit later on tonight, I think, is I need to fix up that section down there. I'll probably do the 1 meter insertion down there, or just fiddle some scales of some turns, which should also fix the issue. I think a turn scaling would be probably better for that section. In fact, let's actually go back to this 1 meter section here. Control F. Let's just What? Oh, it's right. Have I moved it suddenly? I have, you know. Okay, so let's just delete this 1 meter section. Where exactly is it? Hovering there. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to scale this section up. I'm going to move this over a little nudge. Like that. And I think scaling... no. Scaling Y? Seems to... oh, scaling Y will do nothing there. So it's the X I want to scale. It's just enough so that it fits in there. Now it is going to make this road a bit wide, so... in fact, is there... that's a slope. I can scale that instead. Okay, so if I bring this so it's flush with that like that, scale the Z of this to 1.01, and then give it actually 1.005 and scale this by 1.005. Now in theory, if I nudge this up a bit so that they mesh up, it should almost entirely fix the problem. Almost. Just do a bit of Y scaling to fix that issue, and bada bing bada boom. As I've said, scaling, a bit of tinkering can fix almost any problem with a map. Especially if it's small ones like that where you've got less than a meter to fix. Just working on a small bit of scaling can do wonders to the problem you're trying to address. And it doesn't have to be massive scaling like multiplying it by 2 or adding a full tenth to it. It can just be scaling two things by 0.005 and you know, I just scaled it by 1/10 of 1%. Or well, I guess 1/2 of 1% really. But it did fix the problem, and the clip distances are wrong still. Lovely. I'm going to have to go around and fix the clip distances as well. And that was an hour. Nuts. Oh, that's going to be fun to work with. Thank you all very much for watching. Until next time, stay safe and goodbye.